Hello, Annabel here, the most faithful of faithful. Joining me on my lap, it's the poodle of the manor, Puffy Fluffykins. He might make a special appearance this time. We are going to be talking about the Traitors Hungary, Season 1, the second half of the season, so episodes 7 to 12. Joining me, a very special guest indeed. We have Moha here on the pod. Wait, is that Sarah?
I fooled you. It's not Maha, it's Sarah.
For those of you listening, Sarah has rocked up in a very fetching beanie swimming goggles combo. Yes, that's right. Get it right over the eye, Sarah.
Get the angle right. Yes.
I'm sure when you take it off, you will reveal that you live by the bigger the hair, the closer to God, as our good friend does too.
I wish. No, my hair just floops flatly. That's a great drag name. Floops flatly. I love it.
I like that. We need to find out, how does Moha make his hair stand so tall? Because it defies gravity. Product, yes. But what are the products?
Witchcraft,
Yes. So, full spoiler warnings for obviously the Traitors Hungary, but basically pretty much any season that's ever aired, English speaking. French speaking. You will be able to watch this on YouTube as well at Babes on the Brink. Please follow, subscribe to wherever you listen to us. Leave us a rating and review. We love your feedback. And we did get a little bit of feedback on the last episode, Sarah, from Meggie. And the next bit, I don't know how to pronounce, but Meggie, I'm going to say Solj. Meggie Solj. Okay, who stayed up late to listen to our last Hungry podcast, so thank you very much for that, and said dying to see this when it first came out. I'm a year and a half behind, sorry about that, Meggie. This was my first project, which is why the subtitles were a bit rough around the edges. So Meggie is our amazing translator for the subtitles.
Thank you so much. I particularly enjoy when people leave a room that they say, hello.
So apparently, the word Attila usually uses for the missions stands for trial or test, but the players mostly refer to it as a game. And they refer to the traitors always as the murderer and the faithfuls as innocents. You pointed out the animal imagery, especially the tiny bunnies can jump high phrase. I kind of made that up, actually. I listened to that sentence at least 10 times and still didn't understand the first word. So I just improvised it based on bunny jumps high / far. And eventually, after some time, I listened to it again and I finally got the word, which was an uncommon word for sly or shifty. So it basically stands for someone may look harmless, but that doesn't mean they actually are harmless.
Yes, we got that. That was great.
We got the meaning, but I think Meggie is the bunny jumps high. I prefer that.
Bunny. Even a tiny bunny jumps high.
A tiny bunny jumps high. I need to incorporate that into my everyday lexicon.
Yes.
Anyway, she gave us some compliments and then says, I have to shamelessly...
Don't skip the compliments.
Sorry. Yeah. I really enjoyed listening to your theories and thoughts on the first half of the season and can't wait for the next episode. I think the second half of the season is perhaps more interesting than the first half. Ooh. I have to shamelessly recommend, this bit got me excited, I have to shamelessly recommend Hungry Season 2, which also has a celebrity cast, including Danny and Sobby's girlfriends.
Amazing.
Can you imagine Sobby's girlfriend, a top-knot Sobby?
I can't imagine. No, I think perhaps they look exactly like him.
I predicted
one of those brother-sister couples. That's my
brother-sister couple. I can sort of see that. I think
for those of you
Hungarian
who might not be
hippie
English as a first language speakers, that doesn't mean I'm saying they are brother and sister. I am referring to the effect whereby a heterosexual couple of one man and one woman in a loving relationship look like each other's brother and sister, but are not.
I mean, look, I kind of can't blame them.
I mean, you love who you love.
I have to say, the women I find most attractive are the ones who could be my twins. So I call it self-love, high self-esteem.
Yeah.
I think that Sobby's girlfriend is a Hungarian hippie in a ski jacket. That's my prediction.
I like that.
But we will have to watch this space. So, all right, getting into it. Again, find us everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, Babes on the Brink. YouTube, Babes on the Brink. What did you think to the second half of the season, Sarah?
I loved it. I loved it. This is such a great season. Oh my gosh. And if Maggie's saying season 2 is better, what can we do but watch it?
I will watch every Hungarian season at this point.
For Attila alone. Attila, call me.
I do love your crush on Hot Dad Attila. And I felt like he had a lot of quite sexy Attila moments. We were talking previously to hitting record about his little French-speaking moments, Sarah.
Very excited.
Yes. I am now a hungry ride or die, a hungry truther. Let's maybe jump in. So if you remember where we left you, we had people who were on death row. We had Andre, hairpiece Andre. We had the love of my life, I know, Arnico, and we had Sarah's fave, Orshi. And we just didn't really see how this could go well for Arnico.
She always has been.
She does remind me of you. She does remind me of you. So, when we enter into this episode 7, talk on the Dr. Layla side of the house. So, if you remember, Arnico and Dr. Layla each have kind of their own side, their own alliances, and there's not a lot of crossover there. But
it's
Layla...
so odd to see such a stark division. I mean, it's like the early days of Survivor, almost. You know, and none shall cross the invisible line. It's strange, and it should make for a less interesting season, but it does not.
No. It's fascinating. I mean, we've seen alliances on other seasons, right? Like we have Peter's Party Pals over in the US. We have the Ring of Fire in New Zealand season 2, but it's usually
in Quebec. There's five women alliance, and they're all sure that there's a traitor amongst them. Spoiler: there isn't. But good call, right? You're 5 out of 11. One of you has to be a traitor. Let's be in an alliance.
The drama.
But that's Quebec. Go and listen to Annabel talking about Quebec.
And also Sarah talking about Quebec. We can plug that. So I think but what's interesting here is it's the entire castle. Split down the middle pretty much. Everyone has taken a side. There's not a lot of swing there. So the Layla side is convinced Arnico put herself on the list.
Yes.
It's suspicious to them that Arnico had the entire game figured out, and now that they've done what she recommended they didn't do and got rid of their only known entity in Jolt, that she now doesn't know anything that's going on. And Ferry is very upset that Arnico didn't like his... very, very upset that they didn't like his military strategy that basically involved getting rid of Arnico at any cost.
I love Ferry. I've come to love Ferry. I could have him shout at me as I do, burpees or whatever they are.
I don't think that... I mean, Ferry was definitely when we get to yet another almost quit, I think we need to talk. Who is most responsible for creating this toxicity in this castle? Like, this has got to be the single most hostile environment we've seen in any version of the show. A record number of quits, a record number of mental health breakdowns. I have my own theories on who I think's to blame.
Oh, spill. Or do you want to wait?
No. Let's get into it now. So I do think Ferry has a lot to answer for here, just in hurling personal insults at people.
Well, they're weak, and they should be flushed down the toilet. So,
yeah.
I don't know why you'd call that toxic.
I think he has a lot to answer for. I think Arnico so very accurately identifying the traitors. And some people do describe her as intimidating as well. I think her intelligence, her her force of personality and the way she has this alliance on her side, I think that would be frightening if you're a traitor. I'm not saying she's toxic at all, because I love her and I'd die for her. She can have both my kidneys.
Stop finding smart women intimidating everybody and just find them fabulous and glorious.
Yes.
Competent, smart women. We walk amongst you.
Yes. So I think she makes the traitors afraid for their spot in the game. And they should be, because she's onto them.
Yes.
And then
she's onto them. She's
so onto them. She's insane. And I think I blame Danny for the Adam quit. I think Danny gaslit Adam into quitting.
Yeah. Deliberately? No, surely.
No.
He did want him to quit so that people could tell, because we were tired of trying to tell the difference between the two of them. So
it's true. I mean, I'll talk a bit more about it when I get there. But those are my top three. I think. What about you?
Right. Look, I see the very. I think living with him would be very difficult, but you also just have to say, "Oh, shut up, old man."
Yeah, which I do believe Arulok does at one point.
Mm-hmm. And it's also that idea of people who are very didactic about, this is the way you play the game. You say, no, this is the way you play the game. There are other ways to play, and I am playing it a different way. You know?
I do also think that they're just taking it so seriously.
That is the source of the toxicity for me, is a groupthink of, this is really happening. People are really being murdered. People are really, when they say stab in the back, they think someone is literally taking a dagger and stabbing it in someone's back. We need joy. We need fun. I mean, obviously, if you're backed into a wall or you get, your best friend gets murdered, you're allowed to feel emotions, because part of the game is connecting to people on a person level. But you also have to say, look, are you having fun? You know?
Absolutely. I had been told by my cast members that after Luke and I left, the vibe really shifted.
No, there was no season after you left. Season finished.
We were kind of the last two who were really happy and excited to be there, and that we had come to have fun and we were thrilled to be there.
Yeah.
And I think none of these people, all of them are desperate to go home. All of them say, they are mad when they are robbed of going home one day earlier. They just want to see their families. Yes. And so no one's having a good time. No one is there to have fun. Everyone is there to very seriously hunt down the murderers. And the murderers, even though it's just a game, are there to sabotage them and ruin their lives.
And feel really bad about it.
Yeah. So it's there's not a lot of fun. No one's having a really great time, and I think that must make a huge difference.
Yeah. But unlike the second half of your season, which we also didn't enjoy, where somehow, I'm sorry that they're feeling bad, but gosh, this is a good season. Such a good season.
So good. All right, so we get into this trial, and you and I were texting about this because I was absolutely outraged. So they're split into two teams, and one of the teams is going to be able to enter the armory to find a shield, or at least have by proxy shield strategy protection. They stack all three people on death row on the same team so that there's a chance of them winning and all being protected, which means the other team, without anyone from death row, should be throwing it to them.
Yes.
Now, they start off, Ferry and Layla, suspiciously, are on the non-death row team. Ferry cracks the code in how to do it quite quickly. They say, okay, well, we still want to get as much money as possible, so we'll go as far as we can, and then we will start throwing. But then they do not throw it to them, Sarah.
Well, throw or tell them the method.
They didn't share the method or help them.
Tell them the method, and then the others run, you run, and then you walk, and then you slowly choose numbers. And someone even got a match when they didn't mean to.
It should have been hugely suspicious that Layla went out there and got that final pair when she was supposed to do nothing. Because really, the only people it benefited in doing that were the traitors, as it meant they were completely safe to murder whoever they wanted.
Yes, exactly.
And no one batted an eyelid.
It was really weird. And then they were just like, oh, we should have thrown it. It's like, yes.
Yes. even when they target Layla later on, no one brings back this piece of evidence.
Some people don't like watching the missions or the trials, as they're called here, and complain about, they're not strategic. I like them for a number of reasons. It gives us a little rest. It gives the players time to work together as a team, which can be really fun. And now later seasons have found a way to spice up a mission where there might be an action you can take or something you can do which might expose you, and can you afford to and can you not afford to. And also there's a lot of crosstalk in missions as well. Arrangements, watch out here, watch out there. Do I throw it to you? Do I give it to you? Do I help you? Do I not help you? So, but even before all that, I enjoyed the missions, and now I certainly do. But here is an example of an early season where the trial had to be watched to understand. I thought, oh, great, there's going to be fallout. And no fallout. It was odd.
Very odd. Ben Sir ends up getting the shield, which means, again, he knows who has the shield. Doesn't matter, because the only people you can murder are on death row, and they don't have one. It's a complete... Yeah. Anyway, maybe Ben Sir didn't... Honestly, I don't think I even wrote down who got the shield here. I think it was Ben Sir. Who cares? It didn't matter, because Layla stuffed it up. Yes. But fortunately...
Unless it was Orshi, because she just kept getting them, but I think that was...
Oh, well, she... Yes. All of this dodginess aside, Queen Arnico, she clocks Ben Sir. He's been in the role 2 days. She says Ben Sir's behavior has changed. He is the one who refused to vote Layla out over Jolt. He is the one who said, no, we've got to go for Jolt here. And we just get this amazing confessional from Dani, who says, Arnico is so sick, she just sees everything.
Exactly.
So Dani starts low-key pushing Ben Sir here too. So the Arnico group is on Ben Sir, the Layla group is on Arnico. And Ben Sir he did used to be on Arnico's alliance, but he's kind of flipping over to really wanting Arnico out now. And then I think someone puts out the idea Radam might be the traitor, and everybody laughs because it's not Adam.
In what world? In what world? Moha, I don't know how you do it. It's giving me a headache. I have to divest. I have to become myself.
Oh, beautiful. Get that hair up tall, Moha.
Sorry, everyone who's watching. A little bit of hairdressing, a little bit of hair flipping, a bit of hair.
We had a little Baywatch moment there, and I loved it. Yes. So we get to the round table, and Eva is defending herself. So there's also still a bit of heat on Eva after the whole Tamash incident the night before, where he goes and in the middle of the fight, and Eva isn't the one who goes, and now everyone hates Eva, whatever. Layla is arguing that Jolt recruited Arnico and she put herself on death row, and also recruited Ben Sir, and so if we banish Ben Sir now, it'll clear her name. And Dani's just like, this is complete idiocy, Layla. Ben Sir is having a complete freak out, because we can see here, Dani is as close to Arnico as Ben Sir is to Moha, and it was just a huge mistake, I think, for Ben Sir to recruit somebody who had another ride or die, who is not him.
Yes.
First of all, he's refusing to allow Ben Sir to kill Arnico, which we'll see later on in this episode. I mean, that's a nightmare. And now, if it's between Ben Sir and Arnico, he will banish Ben Sir. How do you get yourself?
Who should he have picked instead of Dani? Did we talk about that? I'm sure we talked about that. We talk about everything.
My new take, and I think I had this in the last couple of seasons we've watched in the US and UK, is that at this stage in the meta, you should recruit your ride or die, because they aren't going to think you recruited them just to push them under the bus. They're more likely to believe you recruited them to go to the end. You can trust they don't have any other interest in keeping another person over you because you're ride or dies. And until that happens once or twice and the meta shifts, where everyone's looking and saying, oh, well, they would have recruited their ride or die, I think for at least you can ride this out for 1 or 2 seasons.
Yes, I think that's good. And so it would have been Moha, which would have been very interesting because when he comes under fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would have been interesting.
I mean, talk about a sly rabbit. Moha, you are the sly rabbit.
But if there may not have been the same heat on Ben-Sur or Moha, because this comes from Arnico and pushed by Danny, and Danny's doing it because he knows Ben-Sur's.
Yes. When you know who the traitor is for sure, you can easily mold and manipulate and push, and yes, there can be movements.
Yes. So Arnico gives her theory. Her theory is that Jolt recruited Ben-Sur, who recruited Moha, his ride or die, because Arnico and I have one brain. The men defend themselves, and we get a flashback to later in the day where Arnico confronts Ben-Sur, and he's basically like screaming in her face about it.
Yes.
And she just remains completely calm. She just goes, well, I don't really want to have this conversation if you're going to shout at me. Oh, I'm not shouting at you. She's so iconic. She's unflappable.
Yes, not able to be flapped. Well, we are going to see some slight flappment in the episodes to come.
Yes. So we get to the vote. Andre throws a vote away. We get a few votes on Arnico here in Ben-Sur, Dr. Layla, and Ferry, but Ferry needs to take some pot shots at Andre for being a feminine man at this point.
Oh my God. Shut up, Ferry. I mean, your name is literally Fairy.
Eva, Arnico, and Dani all vote Ben-Sur.
Mm-hmm.
Dani says, look, I don't know that you're a traitor, but I'm doing this to protect Arnico because I think the votes are going on her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's between the two of you. Moha throws away his vote on Eva. Luca and Agi put their vote on Eva. Adam says, I'm just doing whatever Agi and Dani do. They told me this is who they're voting for, so this is why I'm doing it.
Yes.
Bless him.
Yes.
And then we get down to, it's yet again, Orshi is the deciding vote. Whoever goes
queen.
home between Arnico, Ben-Sur, and Layla, and Orshi...
Eva.
And Eva, sorry. Aniko, Ben-Sur, Eva. Or she votes for Eva.
Mm-hmm. Eva Brick.
Eva Brick. And bye, Eva. Poor Andre. Like, Andre was devastated because he works out afterwards that if he hadn't thrown away his vote, it would have been a tie. And Eva was kind of mad at him for doing it. And, he's just so cut up.
Yeah, you can't throw away votes, everybody.
No. And we're left with a slight disaster because Dani has just voted for his fellow traitor in Ben-Sur, and Ben-Sur is still in the game.
Yeah, if you're going to take a shot at your fellow traitor, you better make sure that they're going home.
Don't miss Girly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Layla and Dani, they talk things out and they think, look, Aniko got some votes, so it's unlikely she's going to be murdered, because if she did, it would make Ben-Sur look suspicious. But if she stays, they both look suspicious. So there's no winning for Ben-Sur. He looks suspicious either way, apparently.
Exactly, yes.
And so we get to the conclave, and this is just a mess. Just a mess, Sarah. Do you want to tell us your thoughts on the conclave before I narrate it?
Well, I think that, and we have seen before, we have seen traitors vote for other traitors who do not go home. And obviously the more seasons we watch, the more often we see it. It's very interesting how there are myriad ways that both sides take it, both the voter and the votee. And here, it's if I may use an animal explanation, these two stags kind of standing off, but also they're both smart enough to know they have to in some way get back together. So Danny doesn't want to apologise, and rightly so. He voted as he voted and he had his reasons, but he has to apologise. And Ben-Sur can't hold a grudge, but he does hold a grudge, but he can't hold a grudge. Because they are in trouble, Danny less so, but the traitors are in trouble. And, I mean, I've long said this too. The traitors aren't a team. Yes, there's 2 of them or 3 of them or 4 of them or however many that there are. And they work together, but they're not a team. But the idea of the game is that the traitors are a team when they're not. So that's all the stuff that was swirling around in this conclave, along with male pride. And it just was such a juicy soup. And they kept sort of saying, well, we have to agree somehow. But you did that, but we have to agree. But you did that. Well, how did you see it?
I just thought it was hilarious and so like emblematic. We come in, Danny tries to give Ben Sir a high five, and Ben Sir won't give him one, and Danny says, "Oh, you're just being emotional," which is Danny's calling card recently.
Emotional, you know.
Famously, Danny, probably one of the least emotional cast members, and certainly the only one who doesn't become racked with guilt over being a traitor. He relishes it.
Very well.
Ben Sir's like, well, let me feel my feelings.
You talked a bit too much at the end, but
he did talk a bit much.
But you were gone anyway. But yes,
you
played very well.
So Ben Sir's like, well, let me feel my feelings, okay? Like, we're gonna work together.
Oh.
They have a little hug, but I'm feeling quite betrayed, and my name's out there. Like, if your name was out there and I was voting for you, you'd probably feel pretty crappy too, Danny. So, but this is the hot mess, which comes down to who are they going to murder. Danny wants to murder Orshi.
Yes.
Which would be very good for Danny. But Ben Sir doesn't want to murder Orshi because the whole point in putting Orshi on death row was to bring her even closer to Ben Sir. That's his number. Ben Sir really wants to murder Aniko. He's like, look, this will either save my game or tank my game. I don't care. This needs to happen for me. Correct. He needs Aniko out of the game. She is a huge threat to him. But Danny says, no. Straight up, I am not agreeing to murder Aniko. If you want to murder Aniko tonight, fine. We're taking out your best friend Mohar tomorrow. Well, Ben Sir doesn't want to take out Mohar tomorrow. So they end up compromising.
Although he could have agreed and then gone back on his word. I mean, they are traitors.
I mean, that's what I would have done, but
because tomorrow's another day.
Something tells me,
let me get what I need now. Tomorrow's another day.
These men are so caught up on their honor that I suspect that wouldn't have gone down very well, and I could imagine Danny going even more aggressively at him over it. Yes. So they compromise and end up murdering the one person who absolutely should not have been murdered here. Orshi and Aniko, both threats to the traitors. Hairpiece Andre has never been a threat to anyone ever.
In his whole life.
Never. And so they hug it out. They agree they're going to they swear to each other they're going to back each other going forward. And honestly, Ben Sir cannot work with Danny. If Danny won't let Aniko be banished or murdered, and Aniko is the biggest threat to Ben Sir's game, Ben Sir needed to turn on Danny, Sarah.
Yes, and also, I mean, Ben Sir could have said, you voted for me, you owe me this now.
Yes.
I nearly went home because of you.
Yes.
You owe me Aniko. You have put me in danger. Give me Aniko.
The thing is,
to show that you really are sorry.
But Danny is a gamer. The thing is, Danny would have just said no. Yeah. There's no talking Danny into doing something he doesn't want to do.
Now, you've been on the Traitors, and you've won. What happens if the traitors don't agree in the conclave? Do they just lock them in there till they agree?
They have to agree, or I believe there's no murder.
Hey, that's
what I think happens. There's no I don't think it goes to a vote.
So Attila doesn't come in and knock their heads together and say,
oh yeah, no, I'm sure the producers roast them.
You can't have no murder, but Andre, we loved you and we were very sorry to see you go. Sort of accident. You were not a target. You were a soft target.
He was, and he went out wearing his most offensive blouse to date.
Oh, I loved that blouse.
Oh, it was a true assault on the eyes.
I wanted to shop the edit and find out where that
was. Yes. I do. Actually, Schitt's Creek Blouse Barn. I think that's possibly where he gets them
Blouse
from.
Barn. It's a barn of blouses.
So we're at breakfast. Andre's dead. The traitors are planning on gunning for Layla today, and Attila tells us that
tiniest. Sorry, you're
no, go.
I'm sorry. The tiniest upside of murdering Andre is that, quite rightly, everybody else goes, what? which is not a bad thing.
Who's protecting Aniko. This should draw more attention to her. Like, either at this point she has to be a traitor or it's Dani, her best friend, because no one else would protect her like this.
Yes. Now the monkey jumps into the water. Did you notice? Now the monkey jumps into the water, meaning we're coming up to the final, the final push. So we need to use Tiny Bunny jumps high, and now the monkey jumps. Oh, it's all jumping.
It's all jumping. It's all jumping.
Maggie, we love you.
I like that Attila tells us that Andre's final scream was a high, sustained F sharp.
Mm-hmm.
We love our soprano king.
Yes.
All right, so Mohar and Argy are kind of talking out their theory while Adam just sort of sits there. And they're like, look, we think it's Layla and Benzer.
Slippery slope.
Poor Adam. Fairy just wants to shoot Aniko. He's still quite excited about his idea of the military takeout of the 3 death row people and blindly just wants to make sure Aniko, Orshi, and Andre all leave the game. But everybody else, Mohar, Dani, Argy, they're kind of agreeing we need to look at Layla. And like us, Orshi thinks that the traitors are outrageously brave for keeping Aniko in. And Aniko tells us, which I just think was, again, how does she see everything?
She sees everything.
Because it's going to be way better for the traitors if I'm banished rather than murdered. They don't want to validate what I'm saying. Or, like, her death would only be accurate evidence.
Mm-hmm. Yes, she sees it all.
Oh, she really does. So as there's this sort of movement against Layla, Aniko's like, look, on a personal level, can't stand the woman. I don't want this to get in the way of my logic, because my logic is it's Benzer and Mohar. It's hard, though, because I really don't like Layla, and I would totally love a reason to point the finger at her.
Yes. And this is where she's so great, because, I mean, we've also had on other seasons where people say, when they turn their board around, well, I voted for you because you're voting for me. No, it's not Survivor. That's not right. That's not how you do it. And I love her here going, well, I know who I want to go, but it doesn't make any sense, because I pretty much know who the traitors are. And she is half right. She's right about Benzer, and once she's right about Benzer, because she's logical, she would think that he would behave logically, and therefore he would have recruited Mohan. That makes complete sense.
Yeah, I think, I wonder why Benzer did recruit Adam. Not Adam. Dani. I mean, he did it because he thought he would be a really good traitor.
That would have been television.
I would have loved. Poor Adam. This is, like, you can see he's in major decline here. He's lamenting how useless he is, and he's saying, to Dani, like, please just tell me what to do. And Dani's like, look, vote for Layla, okay? That's the person that you're going to be voting for tonight, all right, buddy? Is that spelled out nice and clearly for you?
Yes.
And in this trial, it's the first opportunity to take access to the armory as an individual rather than a team. And I thought friend of the pod, New Zealand's Sam, would have been, you don't like the word triggered, Sarah, but I think that's the only word for how Sam would have felt in this mission.
Once there's a barrel.
Once there's a barrel and a finish line. So basically the first 2 people across the finish line get access to, or the first 3 get access into the armory. Ferry completely forgets to roll his barrel far enough.
So good. I was so happy. So happy.
Benzer does not, though.
No, but he was trying to be second. He was actively trying to be second, yes. So he objected when he was called first.
Benzer and Adam get access. And then because Argy, Aniko, and Layla all rolled their barrel across at the same time, they have to choose between themselves. But they all pick Argy because Layla and Aniko don't want to give it to each other. They both think...
That's right. So good. So good.
And Argy ends up getting...
It's a social game, everybody.
It so is. I've just started watching $1 Million Secret on Netflix, which I was promised was like The Traitors, but it's kind of not really.
It's not, but it is. It's intriguing.
It's more like The Mole, I would say.
Yes.
And the first thing I thought, as they're all being completely weird, is... First and foremost, these games are always a social game.
Yes,
They're all
exactly.
about, it's always a popularity contest first and
Yes.
foremost.
And it's hosted by my secret husband, Peter Serafinowicz. So of course I'm going to love it.
Oh, is that your secret husband?
One of many.
Oh,
One
I
of
love
many
that for
secret
you.
husbands and secret wives. But yes.
I had a classic Annabel moment where I was talking about this BBC Brit and how I can imagine him roasting the Americans. And as you would know, 100% of my followers, homosexual. Everyone's like, BBC Annabelle? And I'm like, yes, BBC accents. Whoosh! Right over my head for a good 24 hours there. But we love BBC Peter. All right, so Aniko gets the shield. Ben Sir doesn't care because he was never going to murder Argy or Adam here anyway. Aniko's still convinced it's Ben Sir. And unlike Layla and Ferry, he's done absolutely nothing to convince her otherwise. Ferry and Layla have convinced her. They're just a bit dim. Layla, though, thinks she's being targeted because she enthusiastically shares theories and is a big threat, Sarah?
Layla should be a threat, and I kept wanting her to be a threat. But her grasp on the game, I'm trying to put this, because I like her and she's interesting to watch, and I think she was playing to the best of her ability, but it's like she didn't quite key into the game, not just the traitors, but how you play a social deduction competition game. Somehow she never saw the game. If we say that Aniko kind of just sits above the game like a drone and looks over and sees everything, Layla's sort of in the next field with a pair of binoculars looking the wrong way. But at least she contributes. At least she contributes theories.
She tried and she's always wrong. I actually think her major downfall here is how the cards have played out with who the traitors are. Dr. Layla was very firmly on the Jolt side of the house. Mm-hmm. And we've kind of got to the stage now where the Jolt side of the house is pretty much gone.
Yes.
And it's now factions within the Aniko alliance. So Orshi, who was all on the outside and then left after she was insulted by Aniko, she's closer with Ben Sir and Mohar. Ben Sir and Mohar kind of broke off from the inner core and had their own little thing going on after the fallout between it being Jolt versus Layla in episode 6. So I think...
Do you think her confidence was knocked, Dr. Layla? Do you think her confidence was knocked by being so 100% sure that Jolt wasn't a traitor and that she never found her footing again? Got to be flexible, people.
You'd think she would be a little bit more shook to the core, but she still seems very confident about her new, very wrong theories.
Confident. Sit over there and be confident in your wrongness. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's a really, really good analysis, Annabel, about how you could look from a long distance and see it still as two factions, but in fact it is the breaking up within the factions. There's not as much reforming into third and fourth groups that we might see in other iterations, but fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
Fascinating. Danny's getting annoyed because they'd agreed last night that they would be pushing Layla, and Ben Sir hasn't been doing that in the cars. He's barely working. And then this is actually where I think the downfall, or where the moment that Adam breaks. So Adam pulls aside Dani and says, I think I've finally done it. This is finally my first positive contribution to this game. I've got a read. I've caught a traitor. Ben Sir gave me this knowing look where I knew in that moment he felt sorry for me because I'm wrong, because he knows I'm innocent, because he is a traitor. And Dani completely dismisses him. Obviously, Dani wants to dismiss him because Ben Sir's his fellow traitor. They've agreed not to come for each other anymore. But Dani kind of acts like what Aram is saying to him is boring, disinteresting, not valuable. And I think this is, Adam has been feeling unheard this whole game. He's been feeling like he's not valuable because he keeps being wrong. So he goes to one of his friends, finally thinking he has something to contribute, and he's completely dismissed. And we see later on this night he quits. And I think this is why I say I blame Dani. I think he gaslit Adam here into quitting.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is actual gaslighting. Stop saying gaslighting when you mean lying. Lying is just saying, I didn't have breakfast. Gaslighting is when someone says, but I saw you eating your bacon and eggs. And you say, no, you didn't. That's gaslighting.
That didn't happen. And makes you feel crazy.
Yeah. Dani is making Adam feel crazy to even listen to his own instincts and to even sort of really be bringing me theories. Why? Because you're wrong. Yeah, that's gaslighting. Gaslighting makes you, the person, the gaslit person, question their reality. And Adam, it's the last moment for him. I hope you're well, Adam. It was just 10 days.
We love you, Adam.
It's just 10
I think
days.
you're really sexy in a private school kind of way.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, how Dani could do that to his twin brother, I don't know.
I know. It was ruthless. Layla swears to God she's innocent here, and this convinces Arnico and Orshi she's completely innocent. Yeah.
So interesting. Did you notice episode 2 or 3, whichever one was in the church, there was a trigger warning in front of the show saying, your religious sensibilities might be offended by the material in this evening's show. And all they did was set it in a church, and they ran around and got clues and picked things.
Interesting. No,
so
I didn't pick that up.
Very interesting to hear that. And who is it that says that is completely outside the game? You would just never do that. Somebody says that after she swears to God.
Yeah.
You would never do that. That would be completely outside the game. I was fascinated.
It was very interesting to me, and this sort of thing takes on different significance in different versions of the traitors depending on the religiosity of the. We see it in the US. And even like swearing on children is taken a bit more seriously there in a culture of high religiosity. Here in Australia, it's with very low. Yeah, I mean, we were told we weren't allowed to swear on God. We aren't allowed to swear on our family.
Wow.
People did it anyway, but no one really cared, because it didn't mean anything.
It's meaningless here.
Yeah,
yes.
It doesn't carry any weight
Quebec,
here.
Which we're both talking about, there's a grandmother who, when someone asks someone else to swear on their children, she says that is completely not on. As a grandmother and mother, you absolutely cannot ask someone to swear on their children. And I sort of think you can't ask somebody else to do it, but you could certainly swear on your own, because when you come home with the prize money, you could say, sorry, I swore on you and I was lying, but look, here's a Nintendo Switch. Or whatever the kids like these days. But yes, as soon as she swears to God, it's like, oh, well, must be true then.
Must be true.
Amazing.
I mean, it is true in this scenario.
It happens.
But after all this back and forth, Attila tells us, well, we're not going to have a round table.
So good.
They assume incorrectly that this means no murder, but we get a murder in plain sight, Sarah. Adam, he's depression spiraling, he's moping, he feels like he has no friends. Dani's trying to tell him he does, but it's like no one's Adam's friend if no one's listening to him or making him feel like he matters. And we find out, okay, it's going to be a killer cuddle. Ben-Sur and Dani have to hug somebody. And my God, do they take this seriously? Dani as a man would never hug someone. So you at least have long hair and look a little bit more feminine, Ben-Sur. You're going to have to do the cuddling. Ben-Sur's having a complete mental breakdown because he is crippled under the weight of being a traitor and lying. Now he has to hug somebody and murder them to their face. How brutal. The pressure is really getting to them, and they just take this so seriously.
Yes. And Benser doesn't even do it to his face. He cuddles him from behind.
Oh, the hug from behind. Yeah, we get a bit of a red herring. At the end of the episode, Dani pulls Adam aside for a chat. But no, it actually ends up being that Benser gives Ferry a hug from behind. And overnight, Adam quit. So 2 more faithful loss. But as we get into breakfast, Mohar decides, wouldn't it be super fun if he hid in the next room to trick people into thinking he was murdered? And when we see the ridiculous reaction on the traitor's face, when they're like, wait, no, Mohar should be here, we'll be able to identify them. Lutzer also had a dream that Benser is a traitor.
Yes. Good on you, Lutzer. It's not going to help
But
you, but good on you.
Because of this whole Adam quit and feeling overwhelmed by the Ferry murder, Bence is pretty much hysterically sobbing at breakfast here. And Attila forces Mohar out of his hiding spot.
Yes.
Ironically, Benser was genuinely worried that Mohar had also quit and thought he had gone, so the tears were real, and it kind of makes him look a bit more innocent.
Pretty fantastic. I figured out where Mohar's harebrained ideas come from. The swimming goggles are too tight. They give you strange thoughts.
It can't be good for the brain cells. Ferry's still completely delusional in his death, thinks he was a super big threat because of his genius military strategy and Aniko needed him gone. So Mohar tries to suggest Adam was also a traitor.
A traitor who
and Aniko
quit.
is just like, he's so intense and fired up and weird, and Benser is still having a mentee B, and he walks out for a breather. Dani throws him under the bus again. Truce is over.
Yes.
He's like, did everyone see last night? Attila said stab in the back. Well, Benser gave Ferry a hug from behind. Everyone's
but he
like,
does it so brilliantly. He goes, wait, no, no. And then the others say, what? And he goes, well, no, I don't know. I remember something, and he lets them drag it out of him. That is the genius of it, Dani. I see you. Hats off.
Incredible. Dani tells us in confessional, look, Benser, he's having a mentee B. This is bad for my game. Like, I need to get him the hell out before he, tells everyone I'm a traitor as well. Mohar's also trying to say that only women would make physical contact with somebody else because men never do anything like that, so therefore it must be a woman.
That's why.
Oh,
he assumes it was a kiss, and so therefore it had to be, it couldn't possibly be 2 men. Come on.
Bless. But Aniko is pretty fixated on Mohar being the other traitor. She's completely blind to Dani here. Actually, Mohar just really needs his meds. He's just a little bit erratic.
He just needs to loosen the swim goggles.
Yeah. And we get a really cute criminal sheep trial. I was like, didn't they do something similar to this in New Zealand?
Yes. And in UK as well. Little black-faced Scottish sheep. They all seem to enjoy it.
They did. They had fun. Well, Dani got a bit frustrated, but... So, we only have 3 men left. 3 men left, can you believe it?
Yes.
Benser, Mohar, and Dani. And so... Or she ends up getting the shield. Love that for her.
And it won't be her last shield.
It will not be her last shield. And in the car with Mohar, Benser, Layla, and Lutzer, there is no investigation. No chat, no nothing. People are napping. People are having casual chats. And Mohar's like, well, this must mean that both the traitors are in this car. It's Layla and Lutzer, I guess he's thinking. He does come around on it being Benser.
Yes. Do you think that is your responsibility with so few people, if you are a traitor and you're in a silent car, that you muse aloud about who the traitor should be, that you don't allow this? I think Benser needed the nap. I love a napping king. I love a nap. It's very good for your heart. But I think when you're playing this game, you can't afford to switch off.
I think if Benser cared about the game, he would be here. But
good point.
We've seen for 3 days now. He's exhausted. He's done. He doesn't care anymore. baby boy wants a nap and he wants to go home.
All the traitors we've talked to, all the traitors we've observed, doesn't matter how much energy they come into the game with, they do get significantly tired towards the end in a way that
unless they're Dani, and then they're just a bit of a sociopath.
Just powering on.
Totally distracted by Mohar. Ben-Sur tries floating Dani's name unsuccessfully. Mohar thinks it's Layla and Aniko. But at the final round table, we know Ben-Sur is checked out because his hair's out. He's confronted by Dani about the hug.
I think it just went
Mohar
out of his head.
Mohar does not believe Ben-Sur could have been recruited by Jolt because he was too authentic in his successful banishment of Jolt. So he's like, well, it must have been Layla who recruited Ben-Sur here. Anyway, there's a lot of heat on Ben-Sur and Layla. There's a lot of heat on Mohar as well. And it's just clear Ben-Sur's given up at this point. But he isn't. And this is what I have so much respect for in the Traitors this season. Even when they feel backstabbed, even when they feel betrayed, even when I would say that they are at a mental low we don't see on other versions, never once do we get a parting gift this season.
Exactly,
never once do they stoop to the poor sportsmanship of throwing the other traitor under the bus.
I agree. I'm always shocked, horrified, and disappointed at the poor sportsmanship of the parting gift, as we shall call it.
Yes.
Don't do
it's
it. Bad
unanimous vote on Ben-Sur, except for Ben-Sur, who votes for Orshi. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of love for him as he goes out. And Mohar, he's in a pretty rough spot because pretty much everyone thinks he's a traitor going into the final
It's as if they all watch Ben-Sur go and then they all as one turn back to Mohar.
Poor Mohar has a really rough next couple of episodes, Sarah.
But he never stops fighting. And in fact, I wonder if there's something in that you think, because another thing that people have said in innocence, faithful have said at the table when someone stops fighting, you know they're a traitor. So I wonder if there's something in Mohar that he fights. He does he's about to do the thing that you absolutely shouldn't do, which is vote against having a round table, which would generally confirm you as a traitor. They all believe he's a traitor anyway, so they were about to vote him out. I mean, the sly tiny rabbit jumping high, and now the monkey's diving in as well, of what is going on inside Mohar's head. Really, this end game belongs to him. And Orshi.
Love him. I love him. I had so much admiration for him.
Yes.
Even with the silly goggles and the beanie, I thought he's
just amusing himself.
So many people here broke and quit over much less.
Yes.
And he was pretty much unanimously isolated by everybody, thought of as the traitor, and he never stops laughing, cracking jokes, and fighting for his spot.
Stay. Absolutely fighting.
So we get up to the conclave, and Dani blackmails Aniko.
Shocking.
She is not stoked.
Absolutely
she thinks she's
shocking.
heading up there to meet Mohar, and when she sees it is Dani, she is
Betrayal.
Absolutely gagged.
Absolute betrayal.
It was initially, and I still think it was a good call from him to recruit her.
But he didn't think about how she would react.
I was sad that she was so reluctant and hated taking that spot so much. I would have loved to have seen her embrace a traitor role.
Yes. She was in such a good spot.
Was she, though?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, everyone thinks it's Mohar. He's next to go. If he was the one blackmailed, that's a traitor. Get rid of the other bloke and you're set.
Yeah, I think there's a spot, I think at the end of next episode, where they lose the game by who they choose, by an incorrect. In fact, it's here and the next vote. I think we're both losing moves.
Yes.
And I kind of I blame Dani for both of them. And anyway, she's here, she's accepting it, she sees it's Dani, and she just says, "Oh, poor Mohar." Like, poor Mohar. She is the reason everyone's looking at Mohar. She's come for him so hard. And I quite liked it because in Hungarian, the way you say poor Mohar is saggy Mohar. Saggy Mohar, Sarah.
Mm-hmm. Probably the least saggy player. But yes,
Aggie's not very saggy. She's quite...
Aggie's not saggy, even though it rhymes. I think that Arnico has played such a good game, and she's held on with, not tightly, but held on. She's thought, she's used her instincts, she's used her deduction. When she's wrong, which is seldom, she's flexible. And I think as soon as she's blackmailed, she can see her end. And when it's Danny, it's game over. Because if it was Mohar and Danny was still on the outside, he would never let her go. And she would be able to get through to the end.
Yeah. Yes. So they've got to make a murder decision here. And so the people who could have had the shield were Arnico, Argy, Orshi, and Dani. Arnico and Dani know they don't have it. So they know would be between Orshi and Argy. And she warns him. Arnico warns Dani here that Argy has good reads. Like, Argy is a threat to our game, and we need her out at some point. But they can't kill the shielded, and they're not going to kill Mohar. So it's between Lutza and Layla. Here they decide to kill Layla. There is a lot of heat on Layla, but she has redeemed herself in the eyes of Orshi and Argy by swearing to God. And Lutza, she came into the game a bit late and never made friends. Mm-hmm. So I didn't hate this decision. This wasn't the game-losing decision for me. I still think they should have taken the 50-50 on Orshi and Argy and tried to murder one of them, even if unsuccessfully. What do you think?
Yes, I mean, Argy is the obvious one. I think, just why don't you murder her and see what happens? Because if she does have the shield, nobody's gone. Has there been another recruitment? Did they recruit? Because they're allowed to recruit with 2, although they think it's 1. But now do they think they started with 4 instead of 3? There's not bad things happen if they miss, if they go to murder Aggie and they miss. And if they murder Aggie and they hit, that puts enormous pressure on whoever has the shield.
Yeah. And I think, yes, I agree. And I think that I think it's Arnico is really doubting herself. She's completely freaking out going into the next breakfast. She's completely freaked out by being a traitor. And I think she's been really good at spotting and making good reads, but they haven't been as strong on building deep connections, because Dani, he's all in on going to the end with Arnico, or her winning if he goes out. But what loyal numbers do they have except for each other at this point? Mm-hmm. We've got this really strong duo in Orshi and Argy. Orshi's also super, super tight with Layla, but Layla's gone. Mohar was tight with Ben-Sur, and they don't bring in Mohar, which again I thought was another game-losing move. They needed to bring in Mohar and really break up that Argy-Orshi duo. Bring in Lutza. Lutza wants friends. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Mohar, he's pitching Layla.
I think we agreed they should have taken the it wasn't 50-50, it was 33-66 on Argy.
Yeah.
Or even Orshi. We're saying Argy because we know it would hit, but I mean, they could do Orshi as well, because I think there are upsides to missing as there are upsides to hitting.
I agree. I think either way it would have worked out better for them than this did. Because Mohar's trying to pitch Layla to take the heat off himself. He's like, look, it can't be Dani, because Dani would have wanted to be loyal traitor buddies with Ben-Sur to the end. But unfortunately for Mohar, Layla is dead.
Yes.
She does have a bit of a negative history with Arnico, so she wouldn't have exactly been a number for them. So look, I didn't hate the decision, but again, there was a much better one, as we've discussed.
But it does mean that Orshi is the last blonde standing, so, go Orshi.
Yeah, and Attila refers to the traitors as they, when he says they made a decision to murder. So the group assumes that means another blackmail, which they're correct on. Mm-hmm. And Orshi wants to play a game where they have to look intensely into each other's eyes.
This is so stupid. Orshi, I love you. You are my ride or die. But this was stupid. Also because you didn't set it up very clearly. So everybody's staring and cross-staring, and I just...
Well, it kind of worked, because as she's making everyone do it, she's trying to psych them out by saying, look, you know, the older traitor, probably okay for them, but I bet the person who was just recruited last night is panicking a bit now. Let's look for panic. And in fact, Aniko is completely freaked out by this. And it was a bit weird. Dani tries to use this to start sowing the seeds that Orshi is a traitor. He's saying Orshi's acting differently, but we see this doesn't end up paying off the way he wants it to.
Yes.
We get a trial which is hyped up about finding someone you trust the most, but it's more a counting exercise. Orshi and Dani get entry to the armory. Again, I thought here, Dani, why don't you throw this challenge? But he doesn't care if Orshi gets the shield because he thinks he's going to be able to get Orshi banished, which is such a misread on her relationship with Argy.
Yes.
Anyway, so Lutza. Moha, you are the 5th traitor, and the new one is Argy or Orshi. Dani is casting suspicion on Lutza, and Dani does have a good idea here. He's like, look, I think maybe I should try and defend Moha and pin it on the other women. Orshi thinks Lutza is the other traitor. So really, what I think needs to happen here, they need to bring in Moha. Moha right now is very vulnerable. The person who saves him, he's going to have a lot of loyalty to. So I think if you are Dani and Aniko and say, look, sorry, Aniko says, my read on you completely wrong. I can see now by the way you're acting. You are innocent. I think it's probably Orshi. Bring in Lutza as well and say, look, Lutza, you know, Orshi's putting your name out there, and actually we think it's probably Orshi. Bring in Lutza, and now you've got the opportunity at some point to murder either Argy or Orshi.
Because you know for sure that Orshi has the shield because Dani didn't get it.
Yeah.
So banish Orshi and murder Argy, and then you're golden.
You're sweet. But we have another twist. Attila joins them for a sit-down dinner in which he calls Moha a dork and tells them lots of stories. I thought at this point for sure we were going to get a memory game where he'd quiz them on all of the many stories he gave.
Very much. Or the other thing I thought was instead of a round table, we were going to get a safety chain. I thought we might get a safety chain.
Oh!
That's where I thought it was going. I thought it's either memory of these stories, because he's being very particular about the people who lived there and what it was called and how it couldn't be called Shitville. That would be terrible, and he thinks that's highly amusing. And I thought he's getting them all to try and remember all this stuff, and then it's going to be a safety chain. Starting from the person who made the toast.
Yeah. Oh, you're right, because he really pushed someone to make a toast. Either one of those would have been probably more interesting, but this was still very interesting. So he says, okay, tonight you've got a choice, round table or conclave, which should be easy for the innocent, except for Moha, who knows if it's a round table, it's him going home. So here's the twist. There's a twist on the twist. If they banish a traitor successfully, they'll add 3 million forints to the pot, and the game will end tomorrow. But if you banish an innocent, we will remove 3 million forints from the pot, and the game will continue. No discussion. We're going to go around one by one and announce your decision. If it's going to be a round table, the decision has to be unanimous. But if even one person votes for a conclave, there will be a murder tonight. Everybody says round table, and it gets to the last person, Moha. Moha says, you are voting for me tonight, and you're going to lose 3 million because I am innocent. And if I say round table, I'm sealing my own fate. So I'm voting conclave. I thought this was absolutely the correct decision from him, and
100%.
It was
100%.
a game-winning decision from him.
It was, indeed. I mean, the general thought should be that if you say no round table, conclave, then you're a traitor. But in this situation, Moha knows 100% knows that he is going. Maybe tomorrow. Well, he's definitely not going to get murdered. He knows that.
Yeah.
Because the traitors, need him in their back pocket. Even if he goes tomorrow, it's the same as going tonight, but he has an entire day to turn it around. And as we're going to see, he does. So I was so thrilled that he did that.
It pisses Orshi off and strengthens Argy's suspicion. I thought this was good for the traitors in two ways. First of all, it means they can murder. It also means they keep Mohar in another round, which keeps the suspicion off them.
With a strengthened suspicion on him for having chosen.
Yes. I thought if Aniko was innocent, she would have gone at Mohar here. Like, Aniko has been so quiet all day, and that was very out of character, I thought. Yes. She'd have ripped his head off.
Yes.
But
he did the right thing. Good for him.
He did. No. Hats off to Mohar.
Sorry. Hats off. Hold on.
Hold on. Ready. Let's
ready.
Mohar hat on.
Hats off.
Mohar hat off. Beautiful. Lutzer, however, redhead Lutzer, has a mentee bee of her own, because she was really looking forward to the prospect of it all being over tomorrow. She's had enough, and she storms off saying she's hit breaking point and doesn't want to be there anymore.
And the traitors are about to murder the wrong person.
The whole crew is united in thinking that Mohar is the traitor and Lusa is probably the other one. But then they get up there, and this straight up lost them the game. Dani wants to kill Lutzer because it's the kind thing to do. No. She's easily influenced. No. She's doesn't want to be here. And Aniko's like, no, I think we have to fear Argy.
Yes, kill Argy. That's the only move here.
Literally, she's like, look, Lutzer will either be easily influenced or may quit. Why wouldn't we keep it was such a bad idea. It was such a bad idea.
It's not like Attila makes you guess whether people quit or were murdered. He'll say, Lutzer left for health reasons. Kill Argy.
It's nuts.
Kill her.
Kill her. Break up the unbreakable duo and her and Orshi.
Everybody. As traitors.
Yes.
We're very glad they did not kill you.
Yes.
Orshi, Mohar, very glad. But this was a move. And I honestly think if Aniko wasn't slightly in a state of shock all day, if she'd managed to pull herself together, she could have argued in the conclave, but she wasn't able to argue in the conclave the night before. All she saw was her game flashing before her eyes, and she's been in a little bit of a funk all day. As you said, she was quiet. She was nervous when all she was saying, well, the person who's just become a traitor, and you're right about that, and she wasn't able to. But I think killing Lutzer here is crazy.
Lost them the game.
Agreed.
If you keep Lutzer, you keep in two suspicious people, you break up an unbreakable duo, you have the numbers. And it's so obvious that
Lutzer,
they don't have the numbers.
Murdered Aggie. It's just simple as that. Yeah.
All right, going into breakfast, it's kind of getting super obvious that Aniko, why is she still here? She's either dead wrong about Mohar and her best friend is a traitor, or she is a traitor. It's crazy she's still around. And Mohar tries to seduce Argy with a piano serenade. He's still trying to, lighten the mood.
Very cute.
The traitors, I just keep saying it, need to team up with Mohar to seize the numbers, because we're down to 5. Orshi and Argy an unbreakable duo, Aniko and Dani an unbreakable duo, Mohar in the middle, and instead of trying to bring him in to break up the women, they kind of think that they can work with the women to get rid of Mohar and then, convince Argy that Orshi really is a traitor. There's just no way that was going to work.
Yeah. Do you know how to break up Argy and Orshi? Kill Argy.
Kill her!
When you know she didn't have a shield. You know for a fact she doesn't have a shield.
I keep banging on about this because I'm so obsessed with Aniko. I wanted her to win so badly. And
she was you were her.
I just
her win
really
was your win.
To see her go so far, which should never have happened because she's so brilliant. Someone that brilliant never gets this far. And to have it swiped from her right here in the second last episode just destroyed me. Dani and Aniko, they have a sort of loud discussion about them finding Orshi suspicious so that Mohar can overhear them and come in and join the conversation. So they're sort of half-heartedly trying to bring him in, but not doing enough. And then we have a really fun trial. And I knew that you would solve this one instantly, Sarah. it's a murder mystery trial, but it's that logic game. I'm sure many of our listeners have played this exact one before. It's quite a common one. And it's where you've got to transport 3 people to an island one at a time, but certain combinations of people can't be left together. And up for grabs is a double vote. Mohar and the Traitors team need this desperately. It'll be a complete disaster if Orshi or Argy get it. Did you know that you knew the answer straight away, Sarah?
People may know it as the corn, the chicken, and the fox logic puzzle.
Yes.
It's the same idea. Yes.
They seem to struggle with it, though.
Well,
maybe it's not as common
Danny
to do
knew
that.
it, which is why we never saw him do it. We only saw the people who struggled. I mean, they all got it in the end, some with extremely heavy hinting from Attila, but Argy loses it straight away because she puts the victim in the boat, and that's the end.
Yes.
So he can't help her. And also, why do people think the flat part of the rowboat is the front and not the pointy part? It's so bizarre to me. I'm not a boat person. I'm an urban girl. I'm an apartment dweller. I'm a big city dweller. And even I know that it's the thin edge of the wedge, the thin end of the wedge, whichever it is. The fox goes through the coop tail first. I don't know how to put it, but you know.
Maybe I was just being biased because obviously I wanted the Traitors to win here. This is the only time I've ever rooted for the Traitors, by the way, and it was just these 2 episodes where Anniko was a traitor. Otherwise, I'm Team Faithful. But everyone except for Argy, who didn't get it, gets to enter the armory with a chance to win the dagger, which comes with a double vote. And so it's looking pretty good, right? Like, Mohar, Danny, Anniko, if any of them get it, they're probably fine. They just don't want Orshi to get it. And guess who gets it? Team Bloody Orshi gets the prize again.
She laughs. And she says, I'm never lucky, said Orshi. Not true anymore. Stop telling yourself that. That is now a story you don't get to tell yourself.
No. And Mohar, this is where Mohar, as you say, never stops fighting. He's brilliant. He's like, all right, everyone, I want to take you each aside for a 1-to-1.
But nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. And he's like, I've just got to pitch someone. And he desperately wants the dagger. He's gutted when he doesn't get the dagger. And we see, look, Dani's intending to banish Mohar. For whatever reason, it doesn't seem important to Dani to have the numbers on his side. He's going to lose Mohar here. And Orshi starts to get suspicious. Mm-hmm. She starts getting suspicious of Dani because they're all feeling sorry for Mohar and Dani's telling them not to pity him.
Yes.
In the 1-to-1, Mohar kind of starts swaying Argy. And Dani tries pushing Orshi to Argy, but Orshi says she would never, ever vote for Argy. And Argy's like, well, actually, Orshi and I have been together since day one. Why aren't you bringing in Mohar at this point? But also it doesn't matter because bloody Orshi got the double vote, so you're kind of screwed. Like, you should have murdered bloody Argy last night.
Absolutely. One move. Did you hear that Mohar says... If Dani is a traitor, I will suck myself off. Bet, Mohar. When are we going to see that? You promise?
Video. We demand.
Drop your OnlyFans in the comments below.
I would subscribe. We get to the round table.
You already have an account. No,
I'm already subscribed.
She doesn't.
I already tracked down Mohar's OnlyFans. Who am I kidding? No. Orshi opens with a classic Orshi moment. She says, Mohar, he changed my mind in that 1-to-1. I trust Argy 100%. So it's between Dani and Anniko as to who's the traitor for me. And frankly, it's weird Anniko is still here.
And Anniko has the perfect answer, which is, it's weird I'm still here. It's weird you're still here. It's weird Argy's still here. True. It is weird that Argy's still here.
Yeah, it is very weird. What are you thinking, Dani? I had accidentally seen who wins this season when trying to get cast photos. And going into this episode, even up to the opening, until I got to the opening of this roundtable, I just thought, I do not see how this outcome happens. I know it happens, but I don't see how this, how does Mohar get to the end? And Orshi, this is brilliant from Orshi, not only in correctly saying that Aniko is a traitor, but she now locks in Mohar as a ride or die as well. Like, Mohar is now all in with Orshi and Agi. They saved him in his time of need, and this is what Dani and Aniko should have done.
Yes. Now, I thought it could be a Dani solo win as a traitor. And I also thought, well, the other option is it is Orshi and Agi, that they kill both the boys, that they banish both the boys, just to be on the safe side. I was very surprised that they let Mohar go through to the end with them.
Yeah.
I was expecting one of them to go red. I was expecting them and then us to flash back to a discussion where they say, we've got to get rid of both of them. And we're not
if they
stopping
didn't
voting
trust him
until it's you and I.
And they exactly mental that they didn't do that, because they didn't even trust him when it got to the reveal. They were still like, oh, he's probably a traitor. They must have been so burnt out, Sarah, because it is crazy that they let him go to the end with them when they didn't.
One more round of voting. I mean, they were right, and I'm glad, and they're all happy. But this is not an outcome that at any point along step by step, I thought it was going to be Dani, and then when Annika goes, and then when Dani goes, I thought, oh, great, at the fire, the girls are going to vote out Mohar. Nope.
Yeah, no.
So
Dani,
to the end, the juice is dripping out of this season for me.
Yeah, it's crazy. Dani gives what he thinks. He's been hyping this up for episodes now, to even Ben Sir, about how he's going to give this amazing pitch as to why Orshi's the traitor. It's like, oh, and her behaviour totally changed after Ben Sir. She was recruited by Jolt, blah, blah, blah. And Agi's like, Ben Sir, his last vote was for Orshi. He wouldn't have done that if she was a traitor.
That's why you get rid of the smart people who take notice of things like that.
So Mohar, Agi, and double vote from Orshi on Aniko. Aniko votes Mohar. Dani votes Orshi. And I did
couldn't
not
even vote for the same person.
I didn't see this coming. This was just
got
brutal.
To both vote for the same person and hope that your words sway one of the other two.
I was just
Mohar,
gutted.
Who you spent the day, and including yesterday, bringing under your wing.
Yeah.
We believe you. Which one of the other two? Let's watch them and see which one is the traitor.
They just completely cooked it. They just completely cooked this last day, and I was just gutted because Aniko was the victim, and she couldn't
want the
handle
traitors to win, but I'm happy when the innocent win.
I always root for the innocent. I think there's something really beautiful about a shared victory, and I love that it's, the camaraderie and that idea that friends can win together. I find it quite lonely and sad when the traitor wins and they're just by themselves, surrounded by the people they've devastated. I genuinely do. So they were co-workers.
It's the only genuine traitor that I could see winning.
Yeah. Okay. So Dani doesn't get to murder anyone tonight. It's over. It's all him in now with this three who are pretty much united against him, and he's still trying to pitch Orshi, but no one really wants to hear a bar of it. Something Orshi does that I would find incredibly annoying on anyone else, but somehow it's incredibly endearing when she does it, Sarah, when Orshi refers to herself in third person.
I can't bear it on anybody else but Orshi. Brilliant. Thank you. It's charming. Gorgeous.
It's actually really charming when she does it. I don't know why.
And it's in Hungarian too, which gives it a little extra something or other. Such a beautiful sound, the language.
It is lovely. So they decide to do one-to-ones again because it worked so well yesterday. And Orshi argues you'd recruit someone close to you, which is why I'm arguing that I still think it's best to recruit your ride or die because no one in the English-speaking meta is expecting that. But as soon as it enters the meta, it will immediately break. All right, so it's down to kind of Agi and Mohar in terms of what's going to happen here. Like, everyone thinks everyone is certain Agi is innocent. The heat has kind of lifted off of Mohar temporarily. And Dani is pitching Orshi is pitching Dani. What's going to happen next? This final trial just went on forever.
They enjoyed it, which is good, but I did not need to see every lap that every one of the four cars made.
No. They
I feel
did
like they're
some
still
cute little
driving around that
go-karts.
track, and I'm still...
They're still doing go-karts. I've still had enough, but we get back to the castle and they see these big round targets of themselves for a final trial
Was
of
this
axe throwing.
necessary?
No, this was also unnecessary. This last episode was my least favorite episode of the season.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just because my
tag the
queen was
finale
gone.
on to the end of episode 11 and make it slightly longer.
I think so.
Yeah.
So
I also think this twist is overpowered. It's just overpowered.
Oh, way OP. Way overpowered. So basically you have to throw your axe at the target of the person you think deserves to win the most, and the person who gets the most hits decides if the prize pot increases by 2 million or they get a dagger and their vote doubles here, which again, too powerful at this point. Orshimo... Sorry.
No, you go.
No, I was going to say, so Orshi, Mohar, and Argy all they unite in all aiming at Argy, and Dani chooses himself here because he kind of has to. But again, we've lost all suspense over what's going to happen at this final round table, Sarah.
Yes, the only suspense is will the girls let Mohar through at the final fire, which I knew for a fact they wouldn't. So again, the suspense wasn't there. Now, this is what I wanted to say. There comes a moment, so it's 5 rounds, 3 hits each. There comes a moment at the end of round 3 where Attila says, mathematically, even if Dani gets all his hits, he can't win. But Attila, that is assuming that the other 3 are going to continue to throw at Argy. You don't know what's going to happen. You can't take away the last 2 rounds. You cannot take away the last 2 rounds because, I mean, they're not going to. But somebody might have, and somebody might have changed, and if they get all the hits, then it's Dani. So no. So not only do I think that they shouldn't have done it at all, but I think that is my one strike against, well, not against Attila, because production would have told him to stop. I mean, we were glad because we were bored at that point.
Aren't we grateful we didn't have to watch it for another 2 rounds?
But you can't do that. It's like when Jeff says, is there any point of doing it because you all know who you want to go out? It's like, somebody might have wanted to secretly do it, Yeah. You can't do that.
No.
Boo.
And it's so ridiculously overpowered that Argy can actually choose if she wants to use this double vote here at the final round table, or hang on to it and use it at the final fire of truth. So this is guaranteeing. This means that Argy absolutely gets to be there at the end. It
means that whoever gets it is guaranteed.
Yeah, crazy. Anyway, so Dani tries, but that's sweet. Argy and Orshi contemplate if it could it be Mohar. I'm like, okay, just go to the end together, the 2 of you. You have the numbers.
Easy. You've got 2 more rounds. Banish Dani. Keep the dagger. You don't need the dagger because it's 2 against 1. You don't need... I don't know why she didn't go for the 3 million because she didn't need the dagger. I guess she didn't know if Mohar was going to vote with Dani.
Yeah.
No, she needed the dagger for the banishment.
Just in case. So, all right, and we know it's the final round table, so the person banished won't reveal themselves. Dani tries his flailing Orshi pitch once more. She's a flip-flopper. How did she miraculously pick Jolt and Arnico at the very last minute? But apparently there was no relationship at any point in the game between Dani and Orshi, so again, why did he keep her? And there was also tension, we know, between her and Arnico. Why did they keep her? So anyway, she's like, look, you and Arnico, you were in lockstep, you worked together. Facts are, Dani, it's probably you. And Mohar's like, look, your story about Orshi is good, Dani, but Orshi is an emotional woman. And she couldn't work that logically.
I thought, you're going to smile on the other side of your face when they cut you at the final fire.
Unanimous vote on Dani, who votes for Orshi. Argy doesn't even bother using the Dana, and I just feel like they completely lost Mohar as a number when they didn't snap him up last time. So we've got Dani, Mohar, Orshi going into the final fire of truth.
Argy, Mohar,
there is
Orshi.
Argy, Mohar, Orshi. The total prize fund is 16 million forints, which, for those of you wondering, is 70,000 Australian dollars, 45,000 US dollars, or 34,000 pounds. Not a lot of money, but probably
10
goes a
days
lot
work.
further in Hungary than here.
10 days work.
Yes. So anyway, they get there and they all vote to end the game.
Couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe, even knowing that Mohar was innocent, I thought, you've got to get rid of him. You've got to get rid of him, ladies.
He does kind of do a little bit of a fake out where they think he's going to say he's a traitor, but no, cuddles all around. Woo, they're all innocent.
Woo.
And we have this big sort of story arc in the last 2 episodes about Argy following her heart. I didn't really care because we didn't really get enough of Argy earlier in the season for me to feel that bonded to her. But
she was very purple.
Very purple. I thought we got a lot from Mohar and Orshi though, so I felt very bonded to them. And while this last episode was the flattest of the season, because we lost our queen, this is totally in my top seasons.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Absolutely. Yes.
What a journey. What a journey.
Thank you for inviting me to Hungary with you. I might have got to it eventually, but then again, I might not. And now I'm all in, Orshi in on Hungary.
I want the dirt from Danny's girlfriend. What's he like as a boyfriend? I just need to know what the kind of woman who would date Sobby would look like. So, Hungary season 2, we will be there at some point for his sister wife.
Yes.
Sarah, what have you got going on and where can the people find you?
Well, of course, the people can find me, if they'd like to do that, at Sarah Carradine on all the things, especially Blue Sky. I have a true crime review podcast called Crime Scene, SEEN, if you would like to find us at crimescenepod.com or on your podcatcher, Crime Scene. Also on Silent Podcasts International, it's all Traitors all the time. I am covering Les Traitors Québécois, the Traitors Quebec Season 2 with Sam Smith. We did Season 1. He doesn't speak any French and he's legally blind, so he can't read the subtitles. Last season, we didn't have subtitles. I did my best with my schoolgirl French. This season, I'm grateful for subtitles. And Sam is amazing at figuring out what's happening. He has played a game of The Traitors, and it does have a certain pattern. Anyway, we're having lots of fun, so join us over there. And then the great Nicole Horn and I are going to be covering Race Around the World on BBC iPlayer if you would like to fly to England and watch it, or just listen to us talk about that. How about you, Annabel? What have you got going on?
I've got a plus, like Crime Scene, one of my favorite podcasts. I am not a true crime girly at all, but I love listening to Crime Scene, so definitely recommend people go and check that out. Here at Babes on the Brink, Philly and I are also covering the Traitors Quebec Season 2. I think we'll probably bring out another one of those this coming week. Sarah and I are going to come back one more time to talk about Hungary. That won't be a long podcast, but we'll just be recapping. All right, for those people who haven't watched the season but want to know, what are the major strategic contributions to the meta? What do people need to know as a result of Hungary? We will be covering that. And especially on that one, I would love to hear what you think. I'll try and trawl through the Reddit to see people's thoughts on it back in the day. But if you have any thoughts on this season 1 of Hungary and kind of what it's contributed strategically to the Traitors conversation, please let us know. You can hit us up on Instagram at Babes on the Brink, Twitter, Babes on the Brink. Let us know in the Spotify comments or the YouTube comments. Slide into my DMs, Annabel CE. I don't mind either way. Just hit us up. And please subscribe and leave us a rating and review. We would really appreciate it. All right. Love you, Babyliciouses. See you soon. Bye.